we will be looking at the ICT sector development, looking at how best to create a sustainable ecosystem for economic growth. And of course, I have here with me two experts in that subject. From my immediate left is Professor Pat Utomi. He is the founder, Center for Value Leadership, and of course, a professor of economics. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining me on the program.
Great pleasure to be here.
Right, and from my far left is Dr. Chris Uwaje. He is the chairman of Mobile Software Solutions. In fact, he's called the Oracle himself. Thank you very much for joining me, Doctor.
Thank you, Chini. I'm happy to be at Channels.
Right, you're welcome. Talking about Nigeria's ICT ecosystem, well, I want to start with you, Dr. Uwaje. Can you give an insight of what Nigeria's ICT ecosystem is like presently?
Thank you very much. Indeed, when we talk about the information technology ecosystem in general, it's really taking a meandering shape because it's permeating almost all nook and cranny of life activities, business activities, and of course of competitiveness all over the world. So now it's gone to this extent that the technology is now fusing with knowledge. So it's now the center of gravity of how we measure development and progress of any nation. So what CVL has now tried to do is to make sure that this technology is now brought to the front burner of discourse of the national development life cycle. And that's where the ecosystem now as a nucleus must play a very fundamental role in how we can move forward as a country. So information technology is now central to our development, and any other thing that we need to do in making decisions in this country, information technology must be at the table.
All right. Well, Professor, let me take you up from there. From what Dr. Uwaje has just explained, and from my little understanding, the ecosystem involves fostering a kind of partnership and alliance and creating what you could call a value chain. And here in Nigeria, we talk about job creation and reducing unemployment. How can instituting a kind of ecosystem in the ICT help achieve this?
Well, the bottom line of this conversation is about competitiveness of an economy. We've gone through a couple of, if you will, economic revolutions or industrial type human production revolutions. First major revolution is industrial revolution. For thousands of years, man struggled to create value. Towards the close of the 18th century, a man called James Watt redesigned the steam engine and made power-based production possible. And man began to be able to produce things hitherto unimagined. I mean, in the 100 or 200 years from that date, man made more progress than he made in the 20,000 years before in terms of value of output. If you would, the second major revolution was the moving assembly line. You know, Henry Ford, and mass production became possible. Of course, the third major revolution is the convergence of three streams of technology: computing, telecommunications, and broadcasting. The pervasiveness of how that changes how wealth is created is essentially what we're talking about. But it is particularly of value, which is why the Center for Values in Leadership is focusing on it, because it provides the leadership that can deal with the issues of poverty, of job creation, if you have a truly competitive economy in which the use of this technology is at the heart of choice. Now, why is CVL focusing on this? If you look at how the Nobel Prize, for example, has impacted science and the competition, Chris and I were talking just before we came on about the race to decode the human genome, you know, and research teams around the world who would be first to do this thing. It's all about the rush to win the Nobel Prize. We look at our economy and the way it has evolved, far from the promise of Nigeria, far, far, far. We might be excited about things of now, fast-growing economy, this is this. We're still one of the poorest countries on earth. In your news piece before, you talked about Shell selling off assets.
Yes.
I think one of the failures of governing in this country is that we don't realize that the oil industry is about to die. Okay, even Angola is increasingly more competitive than the Nigerian oil industry. Most of the majors are getting out. And besides them getting out, the nature of the way fossil fuels are, is evolving as a means of power is also changing. That 10, 15 years from now, the oil industry in Nigeria will be a bit of a joke, actually. And they would have left us looking at ourselves having failed. The rush to move this economy away from dependence on that is one of desperation if we have thinking people around. So what we did at the CVL is to look at evolving sectors of leadership in the economy. What sectors of our economy are providing new leadership? How do we celebrate the sectors such that other sectors can learn from things that are going on in those sectors and stimulate growth? This has led us to what we've called the Sector Celebration series. So every year we look at a couple of sectors of economy that are providing new leadership. And we're starting with ICT. And, 26th of September, there'll be a celebration of the ICT sector. And interestingly, the next sector is the entertainment sector. And we look at how entertainment, right, music, Nollywood, and co. have created new growth. And hopefully agriculture will follow. So ICT for now, and how that entire ecosystem is critical to how we make progress and become globally competitive as an economy, can create new jobs in the face of a dying oil sector. Is at the heart of it.
Well, the role of ICT in economic development, of course, cannot be overemphasized. Now, beyond the GDP rebase figure, how much impact would you say the sector has truly made?
Oh, I think that what is really important about what has happened in ICT is how much we've not paid attention to what is going on there. What is going on there is phenomenal. I was traveling to Canada to go and give a speech a couple of months ago, and I was changing aircraft in Paris. A couple of young Nigerians who were on the airplane who were going to Canada came to me in the lounge and introduced themselves, and we got into a conversation. Now, these young men were going to Canada. They live in Lagos. They run a small shop. They were going to Canada because they had won a $3 million contract from a Canadian company based in Canada to do software development for them. Quite a bit of this going on that is not captured. The reason Lagos is the hub, the center of Nigeria's economy today, in spite of our so-called dependence on oil, is because there are pockets like that of these young reparts who are coming back and doing all kinds of stuff around ICT and exporting and creating opportunities. When they use even, let's take entertainment, Iroko TV and all these people using stuff. Somebody's out there in the Scandinavia, and he's got a new initiative using ICT, and he looks at the trends, and most of the people who are traveling to his site are coming from Nigeria. Guy jumps on an aeroplane and moves to Nigeria. So there's what's going on in the Lagos economy around ICT that's not been properly captured in this economy, and that's the future of this country.
Right.